Hello, dreamers, and welcome to the 261st episode of California Dreaming. Before we start, I have a few notes about the show. This is an independent podcast, which means I depend solely on listeners to help keep the show going, and there are a number of ways that you can help. You can leave a nice rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or whichever directory you get your shows on. It helps to give us more visibility and for new listeners to find us. You can recommend us on true crime discussion groups and fan pages. I want to thank all of you who've done that this past week or so. I saw several of you mention the show. Make sure you follow California Dreaming on Facebook, join the discussion group, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And if you've run out of episodes, you can not only gain access to more exclusive content, but you can help the show out by becoming a Patreon subscriber. Starting at only $1 a month, you will gain access to dozens of full-length episodes that you won't hear anywhere else. If a subscription isn't your thing, and you'd still like to support the show, you can make a donation through PayPal using the email californiapod@gmail.com. The links to all of this stuff can be found in the show notes. I will put in some new patron and donation thank yous into the next episode, but for right now, let's get on with it. So last week we covered a story out of the state of Iowa, and usually I like to throw in episodes outside the state of California every once in a while, but I have to tell you, I've been following the Lori Vallow trial the past couple weeks, and it's some pretty heavy stuff. And I want you to know that as I'm going along here, I'm writing a recap of the trial, and as soon as it's over, I'm going to record and release a series detailing the trial testimony all at once. So just in case you were wondering, I do intend to follow up on the story since we've been covering it at least a couple times already on this show. It's going to take me some time, and there are a lot of details that we've never heard before that are coming out in the testimony. I'm finding it totally fascinating, but it is not being televised. However, the audio is being broadcasted. So what I'm going to do is give you a recap in case some of you don't have the time to follow the trial that closely. And they're all going to drop at once. So it won't be a series that you'll have to wait for each week. And like I said in the last episode, my work schedule is going to ease up a little bit at the beginning of June. So I will have the time to dedicate to this. But because the trial covers some pretty tragic events, I decided to do another case that's outside of California that I found to be interesting and not so much on the heavy side. And it's out of the great state of Arizona, so I hope you enjoy this 261st episode of California Dreaming, the tale of the bargain bandits, the great coupon caper. Okay, you can probably tell right from the start that this episode is about couponing. Now, if there's one thing that you will never hear me say, and I hear it sometimes in other podcasts, I never describe a case as sexy. I do hear the term used in some shows that I listen to, and what I'm gathering is that it basically means that the case is interesting and intriguing. It's something that really piques our interest. It has a lot of salacious details, things of that sort. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because the way I heard this case that we're going to talk about today being described, as it is absolutely not sexy at all, like not in the least. In other words, this is going to be one of the most unalluring cases that the Phoenix, Arizona Police Department has had to crack in recent memory. In fact, if you were a detective on this case, then the other detectives were going to be making fun of you at the water cooler, looking at you, snickering at you, calling you the coupon cop. While your colleagues are working on these so-called sexy cases, you're having to go after bargain hunting soccer moms. And dreamers, while I have been a soccer mom, among other things, I'm not that big into coupons. Sometimes I'll get some stuff in the mail that will prompt me to go to some of my favorite stores because I'm on their mailing list, and I am certainly not into extreme couponing, and if there ever was a reality show about it, I believe that there was. I never watched it. However, the second to last family that I worked for in California as a nanny, they were the large family with the 5 kids that I used to take care of. they, for a time period, got into some extreme couponing. And what they used to do involved, well, okay, if I'm not mistaken, I wasn't paying that close attention because I thought it was kind of silly. But what they did was you just get a whole bunch of coupons from the stores. And there's always a lot of stuff like household products, detergent, cleaners, laundry stuff, health and beauty, personal care, shampoo, body wash, toothpaste, shaving gels, razors, Usually the companies like Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble, they put out these weekly coupons for their products. So what this family would do is they would get a stack of those mailers that you get every week. And I think they had some sort of connection with some postal workers. I honestly have no idea. I just know that they were getting those coupon flyers that you get sent into your mailbox. So they would go to the stores each week that would have the product on sale, or they would have some sort of deal or reward, or you would have to use the store's reward card. Maybe there was some double couponing. And the idea was to come out of the store with a whole bunch of whatever for pennies on the dollar. Or if you really played your cards right, you would leave the store with them owing you money, usually in the form of a gift card. And then they would have this closet in their hallway that they just stacked with all of these products, and they would give them away in gift baskets or just use them for themselves. And because they were such a huge family, I think they tried to implement this rule that if you take a laundry detergent or a bottle of shampoo, then you got to pay for it, sort of like a little mini mart in the hallway. And this went on for a while with the family. However, for me, I'm not a stock up and hoard kind of a person. Even during COVID, I didn't hoard stuff. But then again, I just moved and my life was chaos and completely upside down. Now, I found an article that perfectly sums up my feelings towards extreme couponing and hoarding for that matter, even in non-COVID times. And it was the kind of thing that I was seeing going on in this household that I'm telling you about. I found this article on a website called motleyfool.com. 4 reasons why I stopped extreme couponing, written by Christy Bieber and published just a few days ago on April 24th. So she wrote, "For a few years, I was an extreme couponer. I was regularly walking out of stores with carts full of stuff after charging just $1 or $2 onto my credit cards. Extreme couponing undoubtedly helped me get tons of stuff for free, so I was able to keep more cash in my bank account instead of spending it on personal care items and groceries. But ultimately, I stopped cold turkey, and now I rarely use coupons for most purchases. Here are the 3 reasons why I gave up my extreme couponing habit. 1. I was getting too many unnecessary items. One of the key features of extreme couponing is that you put together deals based on what promotions stores are running, such as having to buy $25 worth of items to get a $5 gift card. I fall into that trap over at Target like every other week or so. So the goal would be to get $25 worth of stuff that you could get close to free by using coupons, even if you didn't necessarily need that stuff. In order to qualify for the deals, I bought a ton of stuff that I didn't need, including diabetes monitors, lots of shampoo, toothpaste and razors, cough syrup, and food that I really didn't eat. I didn't want to just waste these things, so I had to try to find homes for the items or resell them at garage sales and flea markets. This didn't always work, so stuff ended up getting tossed out. Number 2, it was taking up too much time. Extreme couponing requires doing deals at whichever stores happen to have specific promotions going on at a particular time. This could mean going to multiple stores each week, like CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, and more. Also, I would sometimes get extra bucks and other deals that had to be used within a certain time frame. So if I didn't do a deal, I would end up wasting the promotion. I ended up spending tons of time going to all of these stores, as well as managing my big collection of coupons and searching online for the deals of the week. This was taking several hours every week. Number 3, I was collecting a lot of clutter. I had to buy a ton of stuff to take advantage of deals. All of this stuff had to be stored somewhere. Many extreme couponers talk about their stockpile or their collection of items, and I had one that was taking up a big portion of a spare room. In fact, my guest bedroom looked like a drugstore because there was so much personal care stuff in it. And finally, number 4, the stores started making things harder. Some of the stores started catching on to the fact that extreme couponers were getting lots of stuff for free. They began making it harder by limiting how many coupons you could use, or how many transactions you could do in a day, or how many of a particular item that you could purchase. For all of these reasons, I decided that there were better ways to reduce my spending, and I gave up extreme couponing. Now, dreamers, I'm really curious if there are any of you listening to this out there that have ever participated in this activity. If so, please come and tell me about it in the Facebook group or on the other social medias, because I would love to hear about it. So all of those things that Christy Bieber had listed as the reasons why she stopped, all of those things were happening in the hallway closet of the family that I worked for. Too many unnecessary items, the whole place looking like a drugstore, and it was very cluttered and it was wasteful. Like I said, I will use coupons occasionally. There are a couple of my favorite stores that every quarter or so that I'll get a coupon where I can get a free item, and I'll be headed over there to get my free item, if I remember. But I do spend a good amount of money throughout the year to get that free thing, so that isn't lost on me either. Nothing is for free. There just isn't. There's always a price, whether it's your time, your effort, space in your house. Everything has a price. So in 2012, the Phoenix Police Department started getting reports that they were having a problem. There was some kind of fraud going on. Some corporate representatives who had investigated the finances and the books at their companies were coming to law enforcement claiming that they were losing upwards of $1 million a week. And before long, some companies were reporting losses totaling as much as $1 million every 24 hours. So once Phoenix detectives were going over these reports and seeing the magnitude of the financial losses that these retailers were experiencing, they were like, all right, we've got to get our top guys on this. This is some kind of criminal mastermind or an evil genius at work here in our town of Phoenix, right? They needed to get the bottom of this and topple whatever mafia-style crime syndicate that was running their con game on their watch. I mean, these detectives got fired up and they were ready to start kicking ass and taking names. As it turned out, there was no Ocean's 11 level type sophistication going on here in Phoenix. As soon as investigators started to do a little bit of digging, they were being led down an entirely different direction. Turns out that not all minivan driving suburban soccer moms are created equal. Once these officers were getting a clear picture of what this assignment was all about, it seemed like they kind of scoffed at the whole thing and decided to hand the case over to Detective Sarah Fields, who at the time was being given some light-duty kind of work because she had just had a new baby. But at the same time, the baby was 3 months old and Detective Fields wanted to get back to regular work, and that's when she received a call from her superior officer, and he was like, I've got one for you. And Detective Fields was all for it. She was really excited. He told her that he trusted her with this case because she was competent and he knew that she would be able to do the job right. But I think he was just trying to play it off like he wasn't giving this lame case over to the female detective with the new baby. But if you remember what the late former Prime Minister of Great Britain once said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman. So Detective Fields was called into her boss's office and he asked her, what all do you know about couponing? And Detective Fields was like, nothing, sir. And mind you, this was going to be Detective Fields' very first case as a newly minted detective. So she was sitting there being told that her first case that she was going to be the lead detective on was going to be coupons. She smiled, she said, yes, sir, and she took the case file. In a TV show I watched about this story, it had some funny reenactments of Detective Fields' colleagues making fun of her, taping coupons all over her desk, which I thought was quite amusing. But Detective Fields said, yeah, she got laughed at a lot. But it would turn out to be a much bigger deal than what it may have appeared to be on the surface. And that bigger deal would be one of the largest frauds of its kind in U.S. history. Consumer savings experts say that this type of fraud, the kind where people are ripping off big companies, They get this feeling that their actions are harmless because these companies are so wealthy, but they don't take it into consideration that ultimately it boils down to the bottom line. So for every $50,000 that a company loses, that's one job that's lost. So if a company experiences $40 million in losses, that equates to 800 jobs. And you know that those jobs are going to be at the store level, the blue-collar worker that struggles to make ends meet. And $40 million isn't just a random number in today's story. That's the magnitude of what was happening in this case. What ultimately got the ball rolling was some of the national brand companies that were experiencing the losses hired private investigative firms to try and get to the bottom of what was going on. And they figured out that they were being inundated with counterfeit coupons. And when I say coupons, it's like, what are we talking about here? 50 cents off this bar of soap, $1 off this leave-in conditioner, nickel and dime kind of stuff? No, that's not what's happening here. It's a little bit more sophisticated than that. It's not as sexy as Ocean's 11, but they were losing millions of dollars. And I will explain how this was happening as we go along here. What was learned from the very beginning is that there were some coupon clipping customers who were contacting an agency or an entity that I didn't even really know existed. It's a coupon industry watchdog. They had complaints that they had purchased some manufacturer's coupons on a website called thesavvyshoppersite.com. By now, and this story took place in 2012, I think most of us are pretty internet fraud savvy enough to know when something is just too good to be true. I get ads from some online company that advertises pretty heavily on social media, and the products they have showing are things that are attractive to me based on the little spies they have implanted in my brain. And when I click, I get offered to say, for example, spin the wheel o percentages off my first purchase. And I always land on 100% off. But I take a spin on the wheel because I do like to scroll through and look at some of their stuff. But I've never bought anything because the bottom line is I'm really turned off by this 100% off nonsense. Nobody has an online company that's selling stuff at 100% markdown. That's just dumb. Maybe I'll pay some shipping and handling, and it would turn out to cost like $100 to have it sent from me from China or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. But you know, if you get enough people to click on your site, you're bound to find someone to fall for it. And I've not been immune to that either, just not so much nowadays. I can't exactly remember what it was that I got. I decided to buy something off a TV commercial one time, years and years ago, back when I was in college. I think there was this thing where you could get like 10 CDs or 10 books for like a penny. And all you would have to pay is the shipping and handling. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good deal, right? I think I must have ordered by phone because the internet wasn't quite a thing yet. And I ordered the 10 items and agreed to pay the shipping and handling, which I think was like $9.99 or something like that. And I ended up being charged $9.99 each. I got all 10 of the things that I ordered in one box, but paid $99 for the shipping costs. Yeah, so I've never purchased anything on TV again. I even cringe when I pass by the as seen on TV stores at the mall. But I still go in. I have yet to buy anything though, but I go in. Fool me once, and yeah, that's it. There's no shame on anybody. It's one and done for me. Once something goes wrong, I never do it again. But alas, people were purchasing these too good to be true coupon deals off of this website, and they have them mailed to their home. When a consumer would take these coupons and use them, the retailers, some of them started refusing to accept them or to honor them because they would say that they were counterfeit. So these customers would turn around and report them to the industry watchdogs. And once they were on the case, it wasn't too difficult to figure out where this website originated from. There's always ways to track the IP addresses, and the industry watchdog investigators found out that this fake coupon website was being operated out of Phoenix, Arizona. So the watchdog discovered the coupon caper and reported their findings to the local authorities in Phoenix. And with that, an investigation was launched, Operation Super Coupon, as they called it, with Detective Fields at the helm. Once investigators started looking into the details of just exactly how prolific and widespread the couponers were with their retail roguery, they found out that there were upwards of 250 corporations who had been hit with the coupon piracy, and they were experiencing losses totaling into the millions of dollars. And with each passing day, they were losing money that was escalating at a breakneck pace. Fake coupons were flying through cash registers at retailers and department stores who were unknowingly honoring these coupons. And the thing is, the companies know how many coupons that they create. For example, let's say that they printed and distributed 500 coupons in the Phoenix area to give, say, like $1 off one of their products. This is just an example. This isn't what's going on. These aren't $1 or $2 coupons. This counterfeiting ring is much bigger than that. So say they distributed 500 coupons in the Phoenix area that gave $1 off a product that sold at every grocery store and drugstore across the city. And in the end, when those retailers were submitting the coupons that they redeemed at the points of sale, the corporations would be getting back several thousands of redeemed coupons, many times more than what they originally distributed. So they could clearly see that someone was mass producing these coupon knockoffs and somehow distributing to coupon clippers everywhere. Once they figured out the coupons were coming from the SavvyShopperSite.com, detectives started their investigation there. Whomever it was that was behind this website was sending out these coupons, these bogus coupons en masse, and these replicas actually looked very similar to the real manufacturer's coupons that the companies were distributing. And they weren't doing like the 50 cents off a stick of deodorant or any nickel and dime coupons like that. These were higher value coupons for high value items, like getting 50% off a really expensive product, or getting a free product up to a certain size or package weight, or buy one get one free, or just something that was totally free altogether. People were spending maybe $1 or $2 and saving upwards of $20 or more per transaction. And for the most part, the people who were purchasing access to these coupons online really had no idea that they were paying for phony coupons because they were being accepted at the cash registers at whatever retailers they went to. And there was a guarantee on the Savvy Shoppers website that if their coupons were rejected, they could return them and get a full refund. So in order to gain access to the website, you had to join with a membership. And the only way that you could join or be allowed to join was through a direct referral from a current member. Detective Fields said that it's very similar to the way that drug dealers operate. If you wanted to score some dope from a drug dealer, then you had to be referred to them by someone that they trusted. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell to you in order to keep themselves and their business safe or to keep from getting busted. For this to be the prerequisite to access coupons, it was a really huge red flag that something untoward was going on there. And apparently, Brad Pitt was their leader, or at least their inspiration, because on their website, the Savvy Shopper made it very clear. The first rule of Coupon Club is we don't talk about Coupon Club. And the second rule of Coupon Club is we don't talk about Coupon Club. That's what it literally said on its website. You don't talk about Coupon Club. What the hell, right? They're basically like a cult. These suburban minivan driving moms in a coupon clipping cult. They don't become members, they become indoctrinated to become these radicalized penny pinching ladies. And another interesting aspect about this Savvy Shoppers website is they actually had a link to a page called the Wall of Shame. And what they would do is they would put the names, addresses, and pictures of former cult members who were excommunicated for accusing the website of selling counterfeit coupons, and it would have all the details of what each person did and a stern warning to be wary of these individuals, that they were basically scoundrels, thieves, and tricksters. On top of that, the Savvy Coupon site customers were giving specific instructions on how to deal with being confronted by store managers about their coupons. They were cautioned to protect this information and share it with only trusted and honest people. If you've ever told that your coupons are fake, be prepared to stand your ground. Tell the store personnel that your coupons come directly from the manufacturer and are 100% legitimate. Never let them intimidate or harass you or take your coupons from you. They have no right and are probably on a little power trip of their own. The human behind this website was probably really amused with themselves as they were putting all this together. But that's who the investigators needed to identify and track down, because these manufacturers were losing money every day with these coupons circulating and being redeemed for all of their products all over the place. So there was a lot of pressure on them to find out who was behind this website and to shut it and them down. As the detectives started trying to figure out who was behind all of this, they discovered that the website owner used a third-party hosting site to register this Savvy Shopper site in order to further conceal the identity of the actual registered owner of it all. But no matter how many digital layers there are in a cybercrime, if you dig far enough, you will eventually be able to peel all of the layers away to find out who or what it is in the real physical world that's behind it all. And whoever it was doing all of this probably was very well aware that third-party hosting companies usually have very stringent policies when it comes to cooperating with law enforcement for this very reason. So much criminal activity goes on behind the anonymity of the internet, and these third-party companies make a lot of money from those who commit fraud over the internet, while at the same time being able to easily hide their identity. They're going to want to know that their information is going to be kept safe, and that there just has to be that confidence that in no way this company will reveal your personal information, even in the face of the pressures from law enforcement. I recently listened to an episode of The Prosecutors where they were talking about the Murdaugh case. You know, Alex Murdaugh, however the hell you say his name. They were discussing how it took 8 months for forensic analysts to break into Paul Murdaugh's iPhone because it was password and facial recognition protected, and they will not under any circumstances access anyone's phone for any reason. And there are computer programs that can be ran on these phones that will make an infinitesimal number of random combinations until they get the right one. But the problem with the iPhones is that after a certain number of tries, apparently the iPhone will completely wipe itself clean of its entire memory and all will be lost forever. So what they were doing with Paul's phone over the course of these 8 months was running the maximum number of PIN combinations every 24 hours trying to break into it. Then, about 8 months after Paul was murdered, they decided to try and use numbers that were relevant to Paul. And one of the number combinations that they tried was his birth date, and that is what unlocked the phone. Can you imagine how annoyingly exciting it was to finally crack that phone open, but for the solution to have been so simple all along? So all of that was to say, these companies like Apple and these third-party website hosts just will not divulge information because it's bad for business. The ways that the Phoenix police utilized in order to try and figure out the identity of the individual or individuals who owned the Savvy Shopper website only led them to dead ends. So they were really having trouble figuring out who was running the website. And, it's possible that the detectives could try and seek a warrant to get the information from Savvy Shoppers themselves and where it was being run out of, but it's a process that can be time-consuming, and the detectives were going to have to come up with some probable cause before the judge will sign a warrant. However, there is one way to try and get around all of the red tape, and that would be to actually sign up and become a member of the coupon club. But in order to do that, it would take a referral from an actual legitimate member of the site. And you know the rules, you can't talk about coupon club. But they were finding that not everybody who was a legit member of coupon club was pleased with the company. They have many disgruntled coupon clippers who got cheesed off for one reason or another, and not all of them are on the wall of shame just yet. So investigators figured it might not be all that hard to find someone who was willing to give them a referral, someone who would be very happy to see this house of coupons crumble. The exact reason why a requirement for membership is a referral from a legit member is to keep law enforcement from infiltrating their scam. And for a while it was working. But Detective Fields kept trying to get a referral. It took some time, but finally she was able to become a member and was given access to the website, which is free. It's free to browse around, and once you're in, you can choose the deals that you want to purchase. So she started buying some coupons, and those coupons would be sent out to them through the mail. And inside the box was a packing slip, which listed the return address as a P.O. box located in the North Phoenix area. So Detective Fields, along with her superior officer who gave her this assignment, began a surveillance of that post office where the P.O. box was located. And they sat there for several days watching whomever it was that would come and access that P.O. box associated with the coupons that they received. And they took pictures of anyone who was coming into the building and watched to see if they would go to that specific P.O. box number. They sat there for hours watching, not really knowing who or what to expect, or who or what they were going to see. When you're looking for someone that's doing something illegal on the internet, it's just they really had no idea what this person looked like. They could be anybody. And so it was going on 2 weeks before the detectives finally saw someone opening the P.O. box that they had been staring at day in and day out. And lo and behold, it was an Asian female. There was absolutely nothing remarkable about this woman. She was in her early 40s, average looking, black hair, just your everyday normal looking lady. Hardly the hardened criminal that they thought might be behind a multi-million-dollar internet scam. She had parked her car nearby. They took pictures of both her and her vehicle and her license plate, and when they ran her plates, they identified her as 40-year-old Robin Ramirez. Detective Fields was relieved to finally have a name for the anonymous person behind Coupon Club, and Detective Fields was anxious to find out who is Robin Ramirez, and more importantly, was she working alone? Were there more people in on this whole thing with her? Does she have co-couponing conspirators? Is Coupon Club just a party of one? As it turned out, Robin did have help. In fact, speaking anonymously, someone who used to work for Robin, a former employee for lack of a better word, said that she worked for Robin for a while, that Robin was a really nice woman, always happy, always having a smile on her face, and according to this former employee, Robin was the one who ran the show. She is or was the coupon queenpin, as she's been referred to, as there is a 2021 comedy called Queenpins that is loosely based on this case and kind of bombed in the box office. But in its defense, it was released in September of 2021, and people were still kind of trickling back into the movie theaters a year and a half after the world came to a screeching halt amid the coronavirus pandemic. But anyway, Robin was the one who ran the website and processed all the orders. She was the one who directly communicated with the customers as needed. She processed payments. She printed all the packaging slips. And what the employees would do is they would be given the printed mailing labels along with customer invoices, and their job would be to check the order, make sure the correct coupons were being sent that were listed on each of the invoices. They boxed up the coupons, slapped a mailing label on it, and took them to the post office to be sent out to their customers. Now, this woman who provided this information in her anonymous interview said that she nor the others who were packaging the coupons had an inkling that the coupons that they were handling were counterfeit, or what they were doing was super illegal. And when she said that, I believed her. Usually, I don't give people the benefit of the doubt in situations like this, but really the people who were doing the busy work end of this operation, they really had no reason to know what was going on behind the scenes. They had no reason to doubt the legitimacy of what they were doing. These employees were on a need-to-know basis, and what she needed to know wasn't the truth anyway. What Robin was telling her employees is that she obtained access to these coupons through a nonprofit charitable organization that she volunteered for. Just as Detective Fields had made the assessment that Robin was as unremarkable as the next person, this former employee shared the same sentiment. Normal, everyday, average woman. She just came across as very sincere. Nobody had any reason to ever question this seemingly nice lady. Once Detective Fields had the name and face of at least one person behind the Coupon Club, whom they witnessed accessing the P.O. Box of Interest, the investigation then moved towards knowing their suspect. They wanted to find out all they could about this Robin person. Well, they ran a background check, and it turns out that she had a spotless criminal history. Just regular, boring old nothing. Nothing that would have ever caused her to be on any radar anywhere. In fact, Robin was so normal and everyday that Detective Fields began to doubt whether or not they had the right person. Is this actually the coupon master behind the website? Because at that point, this was still early on in the investigation, and all they witnessed her doing was opening a P.O. box and collecting what was in it, just like the average soccer mom would be doing as a part of her stay-at-home errands before going to pick up her kids from school. What is this woman's role with these crooked coupons? All investigators could do for right now is see where the information and the facts took them. The next place Detective Fields went in her investigation was to visit the property that they found Robin Ramirez owned. And just like Robin, her house was as average and nondescript as she was. And like pretty much every house in the Southwest, it was just a normal stucco and ceramic tiled roof house. So the surveillance started up again, and for days, Detective Fields sat and watched the home, hoping to find something interesting. After a few days, they could see that Robin was married. Checking up on his background, they found out that he was a retired pilot. So investigators needed to figure out what, if anything, he knew about his wife's mischief with the coupons. Robin also had one adult daughter. Aside from that, there was nothing about Robin's profile to indicate that she would be behind some multi-million-dollar coupon fakery. She actually couldn't be more ordinary, suburban, housewife, and mom. That mom who just spends her day taking care of her family, doing what regular everyday moms do. She would be that crazy coupon lady in the line at the grocery store holding everybody up, making sure that the cashier redeems every single one of her coupons. Hardly the architect of the most elaborate coupon scam in history up to that point. What's more, Detective Fields realized as soon as they found out where Robin lived, that they basically lived in the same neighborhood. Detective Fields and Robin frequented the same local businesses. They shopped at the same grocery store. They even got their manis and petties at the same nail salon. Detective Fields continued to look into Robin from whichever angles she had at her disposal, while at the same time trying to be very careful as to make sure that Robin doesn't figure out that law enforcement were onto her and her coupon monkey business. So investigators stepped up their surveillance, using a number of other officers in teams of 2 that followed Robin for several days. They wanted to know what her day-to-day life was like. Where did she go? What were her habits? Who did she visit? They were looking for anything to help further their investigation into her. After a few days, investigators began to see that there was a definitive daily pattern that Robin tended to follow. There were certain places that she went to on a daily basis. And like I've been saying, these detectives couldn't stress it enough just how ordinary this woman's life was, with one exception. She was mailing out tons of packages at the post office every single day. And in and of itself, that's not that unusual. Lots of people have online businesses and send out packages every day. Artists, designers, handicrafters, Etsy people, Jeff Bezos. But they're looking for evidence of who's behind this coupon chicanery. Robin was going to the post office every single day, and considering the case that they were investigating, this was a good piece of circumstantial evidence that they were finding. So Detective Fields waited around Robin's neighborhood to try and catch her regular mail carrier on her particular route. And when that mail delivery person finally came by, Detective Fields stopped her and asked some questions about Robin's daily mail habits. And the postal worker told the detective, "Oh yeah, Robin Ramirez lives there, and she sends out tons of packages from that house that they'd been conducting their surveillance every day." And Detective Fields also learned that Robin had another home on the other side of town that this postal worker also delivered to, and she did the same thing at that location as well. So the postal worker provided Detective Fields with the address of that location also. Robin was sending out packages from her house and from the other house, and she goes directly into the post office as well. So the plot thickens here. They found out about the second house that Robin was running her coupon enterprise out of. It's a house separate from the one that she actually resided in. So Detective Fields started calling it the stash house. Yeah, a coupon stash house. That's where they keep all the stuff. So apparently coupons are to suburban moms as drugs are to junkies. They ran a check on the home, and it was just another garden variety tract home that Robin rented. Not exactly what you would expect for the average trap house to look like, so it was very easy for them to operate their nefarious activities without drawing the attention of any of the neighbors. The outside of the house was well kept. There was not an unusual amount of traffic or people coming and going from the place all hours of the night. That just wasn't a necessary aspect of the illicit things that Robin was selling. The only person who came and went from the stash house on a daily basis was the mail carrier. So yeah, neighbors never suspected anything was going on, just looking at it from the outside. So investigators began a surveillance on the stash house. Eventually, trash day rolled around. And police love taking advantage of the fact that trash set out at the curb is not subject to Fourth Amendment protections against illegal search and seizures. When you put your trash out by your curb, there is no legal expectation of privacy, so police are free to dumpster dive to their heart's content as soon as your trash is out front and not behind any fence or gate. As far as the regular citizen or resident of the neighborhood, there may be local ordinances against average people rifling through each other's trash. So if there is no ordinance, then generally it's legal to search through people's garbage if you want to do that sort of thing. So after mining through the garbage, Detective Fields discovered a plethora of evidence. Robin had thrown out a whole bunch of expired coupons that she could, of course, not sell anymore. All of them were counterfeit. Stacks and stacks of outdated coupons were in these garbage bags. And once they got their hands on these coupons, they got to see just how real the coupons looked and the level of sophistication behind them. Because the thing is, they have to be scanned at the cash registers. Their barcodes have to be read at the point of sale, and they have to go through in order for the customer to be satisfied. They have to be accepted. And Robin's coupons were, in fact, being accepted at the cash register. Some manufacturers had also developed a system of protecting against counterfeit coupons by including a small hologram on their coupons to make it difficult to replicate. But these coupons that Robin was having mass-produced were not only passing the test with cashiers, they not only had these really sophisticated holograms on them, they were getting beeped through their system and giving the full discount as printed and promised on the coupons. So there were, in fact, a whole bunch of people going all over the place redeeming coupons everywhere. It's just that these coupons weren't simply printed up on a household inkjet printer. It was becoming clear to Detective Fields that this case was much bigger than it sounded on the surface, and it was quite bewilderingly elaborate and creative. At that point, the investigators felt like they were getting close to having enough information that something hinky was going on to bring a request for a search warrant to a judge, but they still thought they needed a little bit more just to solidify the case. So they kept watching, hoping to get more dirt on Robin, which was nerve-wracking because time is always of the essence. They didn't want Robin to catch on to the fact that they were onto her, and they certainly didn't want to cause her to panic or freak out and start destroying evidence. There came a point when Robin did become kind of worried. She started to express to some of her employees that she knew that she was being followed. And she did start to become concerned that whomever it was that was following her around was on to their coupon hijinks. So Robin started having the employees change the way that they handled the packages. They were going to have to be more covert about the way that they were mailing stuff. And whenever they received packages, they needed to be brought into the house right away. The coupons that they were mailing out were being manufactured elsewhere and shipped to the stash house. And they were getting as many packages, if not more so, than they were sending out. Robin also believed that someone had been messing around with her trash cans. She thought that somebody had rifled through the garbage or possibly even traded out her trash cans for different ones. And she wanted everyone to be very cautious and aware and careful about what they were throwing away. They decided to start shredding all the invoices and shipping labels that came with the packages that they received that contained all the printed coupons, so that they could hide where they were having them printed and sent from. Aside from this, for the most part, it didn't seem as though the employees who helped package up the coupons for Robin's customers realized that there was anything wrong with the business. Robin never acted scared or weird or secretive about it. These new policy changes seemed to be for the benefit and safety of the business as a whole, which included them as her employees. They figured Robin was looking out for them, so they thought. Even though Detective Fields got laughed at and mocked about her first case being a coupon counterfeiting ring, she quickly learned just how creative and interesting it was to see how these people did what they did and the ways that they were able to get away for it for quite some time. And it would turn out to be these types of white-collar crimes that would become Detective Fields' favorites to be involved in. From that point forward in her career, she wanted to be given all the white-collar crimes. Once Detective Fields was able to figure out the who and the where, next she started diving into the how. And that basically involved following the money. She wanted to know the ins and outs of Robin's banking and spending habits, how and where she purchased her supplies, things of that nature. Detective Fields also found, as she examined Robin's finances, that she was going through great lengths to cover and conceal her personal assets and the money that she was bringing in through her coupon scheme. Robin established various LLCs under a bunch of different fictitious names, with the exception of one. One of her LLCs that she had a bank account for was an actual real business, but when looking into that, it was discovered that the owners of the legit business had no idea who Robin was, nor had they ever done any business with her. So with the LLCs, Robin would turn around and open a bunch of different bank accounts under all the different names of those LLCs. But the one thing that wasn't in those bank accounts was money. Robin was blowing through the money as fast as it was coming in. Detective Fields would come to find that Robin was a person whose records revealed several filings for bankruptcies, which isn't surprising that she doesn't want money kept in the bank for very long, because she probably has a lot of collectors looking for her. One of the things that was a bit of a turning point in the case was approximately 1 week before the search warrant was requested by the detectives, they discovered that someone in the home that Robin resided in had an active concealed weapons permit with almost 24 registered guns and rifles in their name. So this added to the potential for these people to not only be armed with fake coupons, but also armed with very real guns, adding to the potential for a confrontation with these people to turn violent. Remember, they have a multi-million-dollar scam that they're running out of their suburban home. They have to consider that these counterfeiting coupon queen pins are no less dangerous than the drug-dealing kingpins. Detective Fields came to believe that she did have enough probable cause to be issued a search warrant for Robin's properties, and she subsequently was able to get her warrant signed off by a judge. Now all they had to do was decide what day they were going to raid both of Robin's houses. But then a monkey wrench came flying into the situation. The media, a news station, meddling around in everybody's business as always. They ended up catching wind from consumers about this crazy coupon website that was receiving a whole bunch of complaints about their coupons being rejected by retailers when they tried to redeem them. And this story hit the airwaves on the local news before investigators had a chance to execute their search warrants. These investigators were literally beside themselves as they watched the report talk about the owners of the Savvy Shoppers website coming under fire for their coupons not being accepted. The worry now became how Robin was going to react to her business being reported on the news like this, being accused of selling counterfeit coupons to unsuspecting bargain hunters. There was no indication that this was an investigation being conducted by law enforcement, but rather consumer interest watchdogs. But would it be enough to scare Robin into packing it all up before the coupon police came batter-ramming her door down? They didn't want her to shut it all down and escape town. So all the time and effort then that they put into the investigation would be all for naught. Well, Robin did learn of the report that was run about her coupons being as phony as a $3 bill, so she called up the TV station with the usual indignant rant that we've seen in some of our recent cases that we've covered. Andrew Lester over there on Patreon, Helen and Olga, the whole dramatic tirade. How dare you? Who do you think you are? Blah, blah, blah. And this lady actually managed to lay into the news station so hard that they went and aired a retraction to their news story telling everybody that Robin and her website were perfectly legit. Can you imagine? The TV station buckled under the pressure of one housewife with a big mouth. Perhaps Elizabeth Holmes should have hired Robin into Theranos. Maybe she could have yammered John Carreyrou into retracting his Wall Street Journal article on how their blood box was as legitimate as a Robin Ramirez CVS coupon. And what that TV station's retraction managed to do was to not only back down on their accusation, but it also reassured Robin's customers that the coupons that they were purchasing were on the up and up, reinforcing the notion that her business was legitimate. The report ended up doing more harm than good in terms of protecting the public from consumer scams. But for law enforcement investigating the case, it enabled them to continue moving forward in their investigation without having to worry about Robin running off and losing their chance to raid her houses. As the investigators prepared to execute the searches, they had to bear in mind that these are people who are, on paper, armed to the hilt with guns and rifles. So the safety of all of their officers took priority. And they needed to be coordinated because they were going to raid both homes at the same time. The morning that they were going to raid Robin's two houses, the investigators held an early morning briefing to make sure that they had the logistics of what they were doing down and clear. Also in attendance at the briefing were several representatives from corporations who had been losing millions of dollars a week as a result of Robin's coupon scheme. They had flown in for a front row seat for the takedown because they'd long been waiting for this day to come. Of course, the raid is going to involve the SWAT team, so they were told to be at this briefing the morning of the raid. They are the Special Weapons and Tactics team. I read the mission statement of the SWAT team here in Las Vegas on their website, and this is what it said. The mission of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department SWAT team, in conjunction with the Crisis Negotiation Team, is to secure the voluntary surrender of individuals and/or to conduct high-risk search warrant services in support of our department's initiatives. The team's overall mission is to respond and ultimately peacefully resolve critical incidents and high-risk situations with no loss of life. Even if this mission is not immediately accomplished, both teams are equipped with the ability to gather crucial intelligence and to buy valuable time, which will allow for better decision-making and tactical planning. Las Vegas Metro demands that officers hold the highest regard for the dignity and liberty of all persons and place minimal reliance upon the use of force. The department respects the value of every human life, and the application of deadly force is a measure to be employed only in the most extreme circumstances. The sanctity of human life is paramount, and SWAT officers will make every attempt to preserve life. I looked for a SWAT team website for the city of Phoenix, but I couldn't find one. But if they ever do build one, they can add the sanctity of manufacturers' coupons and make every attempt to preserve the legitimacy of coupon and coupon clippers everywhere. Because when the detectives briefed the SWAT team at that early morning meeting, they've been telling them, we've been investigating this criminal enterprise. They operate on two fronts, one on the north end of town, one on the south end of town. They're responsible for the loss of tens of millions of dollars. They are in possession of at least 24 rifles and handguns that we know of. And then they show them the picture of the engineer behind it all, the orchestrator of the scam. This little Asian lady. She's a housewife. She's a mom. And she's the evil mind behind Savvy Shopper's website. She's the bagman, the peddler, the pusher of coupons. When the investigators told the SWAT team that they were conducting a raid on a coupon lady, the SWAT guys giggled and they were like, wait, what? Come again? Detectives were like, coupons, little cutout paper discounts. But the SWAT team guys, they stopped giggling as soon as they were shown the list of the cache of weapons that were registered at the address that they were going to raid. And that's when the SWAT officers started paying attention. Yes, she's a suburban mom distributing fake coupons to other suburban moms. But we know she's raking in money hand over fist. And if she's got this kind of artillery laying around, she might just want to protect her assets. The raids on these two properties was set to take place right at daybreak, the time that SWAT teams usually like to kick down doors in order to catch everybody off guard before they have a chance to figure out that the police are there for them. And the raids at both places have to go down simultaneously, so the individuals at one location don't have the chance to tip anyone off at the other location as to what's happening. This is not only for the safety of everyone involved, including everyone in and around the premises, but also to prevent anyone from attempting to destroy evidence. There will be officers surrounding the entire perimeter of the house as soon as the battering ram hits the front door, in case someone tries to jump out a side window or run out the back door. Detective Fields will be present at the home where Robin resided, while her boss would be at the stash house. And it always has officers a little on edge as they're preparing to break down that front door because they just don't know how far someone is willing to go when they realize they're about to lose everything that they have. On July 10th, 2012, at the crack of dawn, the Phoenix SWAT team busted down the doors at both Robin's house and at the stash house. It was clear as soon as they walked into the stash house that this was the nexus of the coupon club. They found boxes upon boxes filled with thousands of coupons that lined the walls of every room in the house. And Robin's employees, a small group of other suburban ladies, wives and moms themselves, immediately stopped what they were doing as the officers stormed in. They were there basically just doing the jobs that they were hired to do, which was the fulfillment end of the business, to count and sort coupons, process orders, package them, label them, and get them ready to be mailed out. Everyone was placed in handcuffs as the search of the home got underway. When these ladies were asked if they had money or guns anywhere hidden in the home, they looked pretty dumbfounded and said no, they were just working. When all was said and done, an estimated 35,000 coupons were seized from the stash house location. They weren't actually coupons that you would get in the mail that you cut out like the ones I talked about in the beginning. These were coupons that were already pre-cut manufacturer's coupons. For example, if you go to the store and you buy a 25-pound bag of dog food, when you open up the bag and you find a coupon folded up inside that offers you a buy one get one free coupon inside, or coupons that are attached to the outside of a product that you peel off and redeem at the register. When investigators eventually had a chance to examine the coupons up close, in some instances the counterfeits were of a superior quality, make, and print than the actual real thing that the manufacturers are putting out there. The value of the 35,000 coupons that were seized totaled $40 million. Over at Robin's house, that's where all the goodies that she had spent all her ill-gotten money on was located. She had expensive furniture, video game consoles, electronics, recreational vehicles, luxury cars, jewelry, and of course her repository of weapons. The bust was a lead story out of Phoenix that night, calling it the Coupon Crime Ring, one of the largest of its kind ever in the United States, right here in their city of Phoenix. Both Robin and her husband were taken into custody and charged with operating this illegal coupon syndicate, along with fraud and forgery charges. Later on that afternoon, Detective Field spoke to Robin's husband, and from what he was saying, it did not appear that he knew or understood that the coupons were bogus, and so was his wife's so-called business. He just said that he thought that she had a good thing going on. She was running this business out of their home, but he made it clear that Robin didn't share a whole lot of details with him. She just told him, don't worry about this stuff. You worry about you, I'll worry about me. And remember when I said that he was a retired pilot? Yeah, this couple, Robin and her husband, they're in their early 40s, right? And that's kind of young to be retiring, especially from a job that really depends on people who have done that type of work for a really long time and have thousands of hours of flying under their belt, right? Well, he retired early because the business that his wife was running was so lucrative. And he admitted he was living the life, spending the money, buying all the fun vehicles and toys that he ever dreamed of having. Investigators also spoke to Robin at the same time in a separate interrogation room. And she wasn't exactly spilling her guts, but from the sounds of the clips of her interrogation that I did hear, she definitely sounded like she was pretty defeated. She said that she was the owner of this Savvy Shopper website and that she had been selling coupons for several years, though she didn't provide a whole lot of details on how it started or where the idea came from. When she was asked if she knew why she was in the situation that she was in that day, she said because, in a question form, she got the coupons illegally. She was asked if she understood that what she was doing was against the law, at which point Robin asked, "Is it against the law to sell coupons?" And she was told, yeah, the way you're doing it, it is. Those coupons are the intellectual property of the manufacturer and she was stealing from them. But what the investigators really wanted to know is where the coupons were coming from. Robin's answer was that they come from different people. What investigators learned is that Robin would contact manufacturers of a product. Earlier, I mentioned dog food. When I wrote that, it turned out that it was just a coincidence that the same example was used in that show that I watched about this case. So Robin would call up, say, a dog food company, Blue Mountain, Pedigree, Iams, Purina, whatever it was. And she would report to them that after her dog ate their food, her dog vomited. So they would be very apologetic. They would send her a coupon for a whole new free big bag of dog food, along with the hopes that she would be willing to try their dog food once again. And then she would take that coupon and have it professionally reproduced. At the time of Robin's arrest, investigators weren't completely sure how she was getting the coupons. Through their surveillance and investigation into Robin, they ruled out the possibility that she was operating any kind of printing press of her own. So they asked her in the initial interrogation where the coupons were coming from. She didn't want to tell them. What they did know at that point was that the packages that she was receiving that they believed contained the coupons had been tracked as having come from the Philippines. They believed that Robin found a foreign company that produced really high-quality replicas of the real coupons that she received directly from the manufacturers through her fake "my dog threw up" story. But when they asked her about that, she said that she never heard or knew that the coupons were coming from overseas. The interrogator said, lying to a law enforcement officer or a federal agent, because some of this case was kind of straying into FBI territory, is going to cause her to be slapped with a whole other charge, pointing out that Martha Stewart didn't get busted for insider trading, she got busted for lying to a federal agent. So I was today years old when I learned that. I always thought that Martha Stewart had been convicted of insider trading, and I read into it, and yeah, It was her broker who told her, sell those stock, and she just did what she was told. Subsequent to that, when she spoke to the feds, that's when she got herself tripped up by not being forthcoming with them, obstructing justice and all that good stuff. Anyway, Robin finally popped the big question, am I under arrest? And the detective was like, yep, and that was that. The conversation with Robin's husband was a little more interesting as he started spilling on all the things that they had recently purchased that weren't found or seized from the houses where the raids had taken place. What they were doing is they were hiding money in big ticket purchases, including a whole bunch of luxury cars that were parked in places around the neighborhood that they lived in. They had a boat that was being stored at an airplane hangar, and Detective Fields was like, oh, whoa, what? You own an airplane hangar? Where is this airplane hangar at? So all of them piled into their vehicles and drove down to where this hangar was located. And when they rolled up the door and got a look inside, they could hardly believe what they were seeing. And from the looks of it, the manufacturers might be on pace to get all the money back that they lost to Robin's couponing tomfoolery. There was just so many things in this airplane hangar. There were a line of luxury cars, motorcycles, a speedboat, a trailer, a motorhome, tons of furniture. I mean, it just really gets you thinking, why? You can only drive one car at a time. You can only sit on one leather sofa at a time. It's like they were stealing millions of dollars in order to do what? To hide money in these big purchases that are just sitting in a hangar collecting a whole bunch of Arizona dust. It was absolutely stunning the amount of time and effort that was put into just wasting money. Remember, $40 million equals 800 jobs. So 800 people out of work, 800 struggling families. All because you have to have a bunch of crap sitting in a hangar that you can't even use. As ridiculous as this crime sounds on the surface, and as easy as it is to sit here and poke fun at Detective Fields getting mocked and the SWAT team giggling at their operation that they'd been assigned to, when you get down to the real life fallout that it could trickle down to, it's not really that funny. Somebody took a hit for every single item that was found and seized inside that airplane hangar. Yeah, perhaps Robin wasn't out there physically harming or killing people, but it still makes you wonder, what was the point? Going through all this trouble, making all this money illegally, and then really not knowing what the hell to do with all the money that they're taking in, and then they just start buying stuff just to buy stuff. As the information started coming out as to how much money was being funneled through that website and into that airplane hangar, everyone was just stunned. But nobody was more surprised than the ladies who were working for Robin. They apparently had no real idea how much money she was making because Robin lived a very understated, low-profile lifestyle. She wasn't driving any of the luxury cars. She just drove an average, regular old SUV. She didn't wear tons of jewelry or designer clothing. But according to Detective Fields, the value of the items that were seized from that airplane hangar was more than the combined annual salary of every officer involved in the coupon operation. And the fact of the matter is, Robin and her husband, beknownst or unbeknownst to him, they were using dirty money to buy expensive items, and once those items would be resold, then Robin would have clean money. Money laundering in a nutshell. Robin said that she was making $300,000 a month, but based on the millions of dollars in assets that were seized, it's believed that she was bringing in way more than that. When they did the breakdown, after subtracting Robin's overhead costs of operating her business, her profit margin was 92%. I looked it up. The average profit margin of a small business is between 7 and 10%. And bear in mind that what Robin was doing took little to no effort on her part. Just go about her day like she's running errands, and she outsourced all the busy work to her employees. Now, on the day of the raid, all of Robin's employees were tossed into the Maricopa County Jail and slapped with the same charges as Robin was hit with. But what it all boiled down to was whether or not they knew what they were doing was illegal. If, say, these ladies were sorting out and packaging up baggies of cocaine or heroin, then yeah, they would probably have an idea that they were doing something that wasn't very legal. But getting busted for stuffing envelopes with coupons, there's a good chance that they had no idea. And if they were really under the impression that they were working for a legitimate business, then they can't be held criminally responsible for their roles in this scam. In the end, some of the employees who took deals were going to agree to testify or to provide statements against Robin were not going to be prosecuted. But what they all ultimately were going to have to do was jointly be liable for the restitution that the companies were owed for their losses, and there was just no getting around that. When Robin realized that if she went to trial that she was potentially looking at as many as 15 years in prison, she decided to take a plea agreement that would see her in prison for 2 years, and she would be ordered to pay $5 million in restitution, which was only a fraction of the losses that the companies ended up losing to her counterfeit coupon operation. 2 others ended up being convicted along with Robin, 42-year-old Amico Fountain and 54-year-old Marilyn Johnson. They both received probation and were ordered to pay restitution as well. This crime itself represented something that was new and unique to investigators, in that it demonstrated how much someone could really get away with, who doesn't have a whole lot of experience, knowledge, or know-how about much of anything. There's nothing really skilled about them. There's nothing that they specialize in. And they could just hop on the internet and create a multi-million-dollar fraud ring right there in their living room in suburban America. And it was a thing that Robin had been doing for a total of 5 years. She was getting away with it for quite some time. And seeing how she was stockpiling useless, large ticket items in an airplane hangar, it's probably safe to assume that if it wasn't for her insatiable greed, if she just had toned it down a little bit, she could have potentially gotten away with it for much longer, if not forever. That's the only upside in cases like this, or like in our series on Helen and Olga. Too much is never enough for these crazy ladies. Helen and Olga didn't need 25 insurance policies on the life of one guy, just like Robin didn't need a luxury car from every country on the European continent. As much as the hard work of these investigators can be credited for all that they do to track down these people like Helen and Olga and Robin here today in our story, there is something to be said about these people's level of greed and how that plays into these ladies setting themselves up for a very hard fall. In the end, the officers who giggled at Detective Fields, the ones who wallpapered her office in coupons, they ended up having to take their hats off to the woman who took down the largest coupon scam in American history. And that, my dreamers, is the tale of the Bargain Bandits, the Great Coupon Caper. I hope you enjoyed this story. I will be back very soon with your next installment of California Dreaming, where we will most likely get back to all the murdery stuff that we know and love. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode, for continuing to listen. As long as you listen, I'm going to keep making. And as always, until next time, sweet dreams.